Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. I want you to just picture a kitchen table for a second. For a lot of us, this wasn't just where we ate dinner, it was literally the original pharmacy. Today, we're cracking open the Ancestral Storyteller's recipe box. We're going to explore how those simple jars and boxes sitting in your pantry right now actually acted as powerful natural medicines for marginalized and underfunded communities long before modern urgent care was a thing. And honestly, the most fascinating part, modern science is absolutely proving that these ancient home remedies really work. Okay, let's take a quick look at our agenda for today. We'll start with wisdom born from necessity and then peek right into the home emergency pantry. After that, we're looking at fighting infections naturally, soothing aches and pain, and calming digestion and gut. Finally, we'll cover exactly when to seek doctors. Right, diving into Section 1, Wisdom Born from Necessity, looking at the kitchen as the original pharmacy. These remedies passed down from Black grandmothers in city apartments or rural families in farmhouses a century ago. They weren't just quaint little folk tales. Actually, they were vital acts of resistance against systemic healthcare exclusion. When hospitals were just too far, too expensive, or completely unwelcoming, these families built literal institutions of healing right in their own homes. There's a quote that hits the nail on the head. Our grandmothers became healers out of necessity. They represented survival, self-reliance, and a refusal to be helpless in the face of illness. Passing down these self-reliance skills fostered this incredible sense of absolute communal care when outside institutions completely failed them. A mother sitting by a sick child's bed with a cracked teacup and a homemade remedy, she was asserting that her wisdom had absolute value. And, this really comes down to the literal cost of survival. A staple like a blue jar of Vicks Vapor Rub or a classic orange box of baking soda provided highly accessible multi-purpose care for, maybe $2? Contrast that with spending $15 or more on a single-use over-the-counter drug today. The pantry was literally preparedness for pennies. That brings us to Section 2, the home emergency pantry, or like we just said, preparedness for pennies. We really need to stop seeing these jars as just baking ingredients and start looking at them as the natural medicine cabinet they truly are. So here is your foundational toolkit for DIY wellness. These are super actionable, completely safe preparations. For example, a quick paste of baking soda and water instantly neutralizes the pain and swelling of summer bee stings. Just mixing salt and warm water creates a soothing gargle that naturally draws out fluid and kills bacteria in a raw throat. And snapping a thick leaf off a homegrown aloe vera plant provides a raw, cooling gel that seals in moisture and acts as an immediate barrier for kitchen burns. Alongside things like castor oil, Epsom salt, and apple cider vinegar, these essentials kept families healthy long before emergency clinics were even an option. All right, Section 3. Fighting infections naturally with garlic, steam, and onions. We're going to look at how these supersensory folk traditions directly map to hard clinical data for fighting infections. When we look at a side-by-side breakdown here, it completely proves that a grandmother's observation and a scientist's laboratory are really just two different languages for the exact same truth. Crushing raw garlic releases antimicrobial sulfur compounds, boiling fresh ginger inhibits serotonin to reduce nausea, and heating yellow onions that actually activates quercetin to break up mucus. The crucial point here is understanding the chemistry. Let's look at allicin. It's this incredibly powerful sulfur-containing compound that doesn't even exist in the garlic clove until you literally crush or damage the cells. That pungent smell? Yep, that's the allicin going to work. Modern science proves it aggressively inhibits the cellular machinery of fungi and bacteria. And that is exactly why ancestral remedies used crushed raw garlic to treat severe earaches and incredibly contagious fungal infections like athlete's foot. Now let's move to a classic DIY tutorial, the therapeutic steam tent. If you had a cold in a Black household in the 70s, for sure you are getting the steam tent. You boil water in a large bowl, add 3 generous scoops of Vicks Vapor Rub, and then drape a thick towel over your head to trap that medicated steam. You breathe it in deeply. It felt super intense, that overpowering smell of eucalyptus and menthol. But the clinical efficacy of steam inhalation to clear severe chest congestion is literally still recommended by doctors today. And if that congestion was really stubborn, out came the onions. Preparing this soothing onion syrup sounds kind of bizarre today, right? You slice yellow onions into thin rounds, layer them with sugar or honey in a jar, and just let it sit overnight until the juice pulls out into a sweet, sharp syrup, administered by the spoonful to suppress nighttime coughs. But listen, the volatile oils and quercetin in the onions reduced inflammation, and the sweet syrup coated the throat. Plus, beyond the chemistry, the deep comfort of someone taking the time to prepare this for you was incredibly therapeutic in itself. Let's pivot to Section 4, soothing aches and pain, going from hard labor to deep relief. We really need to honor the immense physical toll that hard labor took on marginalized communities. Coal miners, factory workers, housekeepers, and the absolutely ingenious ways they managed chronic pain. For a poor family, heat itself was medicine. The folk tradition of placing a heated brick or a warm flannel at the foot of the bed to draw out deep aches, it wasn't just some quaint comfort. It is a scientifically valid method for relaxing stiff, overworked muscles. Clinical data shows that applied heat dilates blood vessels, which massively improves circulation and aids in repairing damaged tissues after a brutal day of work. Now, for a deep chest cold, a traditional mustard plaster was deployed. This was an intense, precise medical procedure. You mix dry mustard powder with flour and water, spread that sharp, hot paste between two clean cloths, and place it right on the chest. It was designed to violently wake up the body's defenses by aggressively stimulating blood flow. But you had to monitor it strictly. Left on too long, and it would actually burn the skin. It was harsh, but a highly effective option when choices were limited. On the gentler side, we have safely preparing an oat bath. This is a simple guide to turning a regular breakfast staple into a clinically validated dermatological treatment. You just grind regular household oats super fine in a blender or food processor, making sure it's ground fine enough to become colloidal. Then pour that powder into warm bath water. The starches attract water, creating a viscous gel that traps moisture and completely soothes irritated skin and rashes, from poison ivy to dry winter patches. The chemistry behind this is just fascinating. We're talking about avanthramides. These are specific chemical compounds found in oatmeal that act as powerful antioxidants. They literally shut down immune inflammation and reduce histamine release. Now, poor families might not have known this complex scientific term, but they instinctively knew that an oat bath provided absolute relief for incredibly itchy skin. All right, opening up our final tutorial chapter, Section 5, Calming Digestion and Gut. We're looking at chemistry right on the kitchen table. Modern science has definitively validated the active chemical mechanisms in these ancient grandmother remedies. Honey actually coats the throat and suppresses coughs just as effectively as over-the-counter pediatric syrups. Peppermint physically relaxes digestive tract muscles to relieve bloating. A dab of clove oil contains eugenol, which acts as a fantastic natural anesthetic for agonizing toothaches. And ginger reduces nausea by straight-up blocking serotonin receptors in the gut. Consider the traditional method of stirring a spoonful of Arm & Hammer baking soda into a glass of water for heavy heartburn. Sure, it tasted incredibly salty and metallic, but chemically, that alkaline powder neutralized stomach acid instantly. Today, you might spend $15 on modern over-the-counter antacids, but guess what? The active pharmaceutical ingredient is completely identical, sodium bicarbonate. It's a true masterclass in brilliant self-sufficiency. And for constipation, we look to the plumbing mechanics of sorbitol. Found naturally in prunes, sorbitol acts as a powerful osmotic laxative. Basically, it stimulates a massive water delivery to the colon, softening things up, and creating bulk to kickstart a spontaneous bowel movement. Reaching for dried plums was, and honestly still is, a highly effective, dirt-cheap alternative to expensive modern fiber supplements. Okay, before we wrap up, we need to pause for Section 6, when to seek doctors, and the absolute boundary of home healing. Because this leads us to the single most important question for anyone practicing DIY wellness today. When is home care not enough? Here are the crucial guidelines on when professional intervention is totally necessary. If your constipation actually worsens, that could indicate irritable bowel syndrome, and prunes might actually aggravate it. If a toothache features a fever, severe swelling, or bleeding, you need an emergency dentist, period. If any illness heads south, or simply fails to improve within a few days, or if you're dealing with deep infections or broken bones that require antibiotics or surgery, go to a professional. Ancestral medicine is amazingly powerful, but utilizing modern medical breakthroughs is an incredible blessing that we should never, ever ignore. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. What ancestral remedy is sitting in your pantry right now? And more importantly, who are you going to pass that wisdom down to? By understanding the hard science behind the tradition, you can safely continue this incredible legacy of communal care right in your own home. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.